Guys, thanks for joining. I appreciate you being on here as well. If you want to share this with anybody that you feel like might benefit from listening as well, please do. And yeah, Nicole, thank you for being on here. So just quickly, if you want to quickly introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and then we'll kind of go into it and just discuss a few topics.
Sure. So yeah, Nicole Bremner, as you can see, I am a property developer and investor. I've been in property bought my first property in 2004 in Clerkenwell, central London. And then I went into property professionally in 2009. Since then I've done numerous sites, actually, mostly in Hackney. And right now we're just finishing off or selling around 100 I think it's just under 100 now, 100 units, residential and commercial across London and into Luton as well. So yeah, as well as that, I've got numerous children, some of which you'll hear running around in the background. I've got, and I've invested in a few startups, including Terrible Merch, which is a music merchandise company, Bamboo Auctions, which is a property online auction company. What else? Yeah, I'm sure there's some other things I've forgotten. Eda Active and women's activewear range. Yeah, so just lots of things. That's pretty much
And
it.
I saw you wrote a book.
Oh yeah, I wrote a book. Yeah, I should probably go and grab
I've
it.
never come across it. I'm definitely going to check it out as well. So that's good.
Yeah,
good
no, I've got a book. Where is it? Here it is. I should grab it and show you. There you go. Bricking It is my book. And it's from stay-at-home mom to millions in property. So it's a little bit, I'd say it's a little bit outdated now, actually. Someone said, why don't you just do an update and update the information, which I should, because I published it in 2017. But yeah, things age. I've aged. We've all aged.
You're doing good. You're doing good. You're doing well. All right. So now, thanks for that introduction. And probably just quickly, I'll introduce myself as well. I know we talked through Clubhouse and Instagram briefly as well. So I'm from London originally, southeast of London, but I moved up here coming out of uni, straight into the corporate world, Jaguar Land Rover as a project manager, and I'm now based up in the Midlands. I've been living here for a while now, but I'm still in between London and here because all my friends, family, everybody's down south, and I love London. I can never let go of it, so I think I'll always go in and out. But yeah, so I'm a property investor. I invest in Coventry, mainly I buy to hold. So I know you've done a bit of building to sell and conversions and stuff. So I'll pick that up as well later on. But for me at the moment, I focus on HM as a strategy. I do want to this year start going into maybe some flat conversions, and then long term, I'd love to kind of get into the space of building out apartments and hold on to those as well. So that's my vision, that's my trajectory at the moment, that's the direction I'm heading towards. But yeah, so okay, good. And guys as well, if you've got any questions for the audience, any questions you want to ask, just use the question box to ask it so that it doesn't go all the way to the top and just easy to kind of pick up on it later on. So yeah, Nicole, so kind of just give us a bit of background as to what made you, obviously I've done some research around you, I know roughly how you kind of got into it, but just people don't know how you got into it. What made you kind of step into the property world?
Yeah, it was really just looking for the next career iteration. I had worked in funds management as an analyst for a number of years, and then I moved to the US, and I went back to, I had a baby over in the US, my first child, and I was just looking at what to do after that. I went to Goldman Sachs, worked at Goldman on Wall Street, which was an incredible experience. And sorry, my child's in the kitchen making lunch, so let me just shut the door. Yeah, so was doing that, and I really felt like a part-timer in banking at that point in time because I was working 8 till 5 and everyone was just working such long hours. Yeah, so I was just, I then had a second child, and I bought this vicarage in Hackney and started renovating that, had my third child as well, had 3 in 3 years and 3 months. And I just thought, I can't go back to banking now. It's impossible if I felt like a part-timer then. I don't want to be at the whim of a boss saying whether I can go to my child's Christmas nativity play or go to parent teacher evening. And I just felt that I was compromising the type of mother that I wanted to be, and not achieving what I wanted to do professionally either. And so I started looking at various career options, and I looked at all sorts of things.
I think your sound went for a sec. I think your sound went.
Doing a
Sorry,
sorry. How can we stop phone calls coming through? Yeah, no, my phone rang. Yeah, so it was looking at what I could do that was flexible enough to allow me to be the mother that I wanted to do. And yeah, I just stumbled on property. I'd renovated this property. I was loving the process, and it felt like I was achieving something for the first time in a long time. And that's really how it started. And that was in 2009 and 10.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you say that as well. And I kind of, your progression as well, sounds, it's very like, I know you kind of did that renovation and you fell in love with it and then decided, you know what, I want to keep this going. I can support this with my current lifestyle that I've got. But then you kind of went into such larger developments and in London as well. What made you feel so comfortable kind of getting into that space?
Yeah, it was more of a progression, really. At the time, I was really quite happy working on, I had this opposite strategy to most people. What I was doing is buying HMOs in Hackney and Islington and converting them into luxury family homes. And it worked really well up until around 2014-15, when the market became really saturated in these areas and people started paying more for unrenovated properties than they were for renovated properties. So obviously my strategy no longer worked. So that's when I had a look at, I did my first house to flat conversion as well, and that went really, really well. I ended up, I think still to this day, I have the record of the highest price per square foot of a property in Hackney. I need to look at that to see if I still have that record, but at the time it was. And I was just really proud of what I was doing. And so I thought, well, it's as easy to do something that's one flat as it is to do 3 flats. So surely it's as easy to do 4 flats or 5 flats. And so I just sort of scaled up, and I then realized that with more flats, it takes a lot more time and there are a lot more headaches. So I think and I know this is contrary to everyone out there and even your introduction as well, but I just think if I could start again now, my advice would be to stick with what I was doing really well at, which is just taking unloved homes and making them absolutely beautiful, or turning them into flats and just really small scale flats. I think I would stick to that because my goodness, these big projects are a headache.
Yeah, I can imagine things everything is 10 times, I guess, just any issues and you knock on effects, it's like a ripple effect, you know. Yeah. So I can imagine that, not being so great on that side of things. But it's still interesting that you kind of felt the confidence to kind of step into that space. Yeah. Just obviously progression as well, but it's good that obviously you went in that direction. Obviously you've become, you built a name for yourself and then you become known in the space for creating these luxury products as well. And that's another thing as well. So what made you kind of want to go on the high end? Because again, I think every developer kind of picks their what kind of niche or what kind of target or what kind of product they want to put out there. So what made you decide the high end is where you want to play at and nothing below that?
Yeah, I think that I always wanted to build properties or develop properties that I would be proud of living in and that I would want to live in. And that is the case now. If I'm not happy to live there, then I wouldn't want to put anyone else in there. And that's not to say that I wouldn't be happy in a lower end apartment. That's not it at all. But if you're doing an apartment for say 175,000, make it the best apartment that's available for 175,000. Make sure the finish is great. Make sure that it's staged beautifully and make it just really desirable. And yeah, it might not be for me now at age 42, but was it for me at age 25? Then that's the sort of thing that I'm thinking about. Would I be happy living in it, or would I be happy putting one of my kids in it? And that's the test. And I just always want to be really proud of what I'm putting out. No,
good. So fast forward today, what are you currently doing? What have you currently got in the pipeline? What does it look like for you at the moment?
Yeah, so at the moment, I'm consolidating my portfolio. There are a lot of things that we are finishing, and I'm looking at restructuring the finance. I think that we're probably in for a bit of a rough ride. Rocky, I was trying to say rocky and rough at the same time.
Yeah.
Rocky. Rocky ride over 2021. I think that the full impact of unemployment and the end of that pent-up demand for property is going to start filtering through the property market over the next few months. And I just want to be really comfortable with the way that the portfolio is structured so that I can sleep easy and not have to worry about lenders calling in loans and that sort of thing. Just completely consolidate that all. So what I'm doing is we're looking to sell as much as we can. I've got a lot of investors, so I want to just pay them out and just keep what I can keep, sell what I can't keep. Anything that's Help to Buy has pretty much sold, which is great. So we're stuck with some, not stuck, we are left with some of the higher priced, larger units, which I don't particularly mind. I think that longer term, they're going to be good rentals. So yeah, to answer your question, I'm consolidating and restructuring all debt so that it's on cheaper long-term buy-to-let finance, and I'm keeping my powder dry. When the money is in, I'm going to be keeping it in the bank and then just looking for opportunities. And as for what those opportunities are, I think that over the next 18 months, there are going to be a lot of distressed developers out there who have not restructured their portfolios correctly and perhaps are going to be left high and dry with either flats that they can't sell on, the last remaining flats of their developments, or unfortunately there's going to be foreclosures on those. So for me, I'm looking to keep my powder dry, keep my war chest, whatever you want to call it, and just have some cash available for when those opportunities arise. And maybe I can even work with some of these developers who are having a hard time to help them work their way out of this mess that they perhaps find them, because I do think that often banks are too hasty to close down sites and sell them on in order to get pennies in the pound, when actually they could work with the developers to help them come to a more favorable exit.
No, interesting you say that. So you're looking to, that's interesting. So you're going to park up some of the money and potentially look for opportunities in the future, up and coming future, to kind of inject the money back into. So
yeah, exactly.
At the moment, have you got any sites that you're looking at progressing, or you literally just holding on to what you currently have and selling that off, and then that's it until new opportunities arrive?
Yeah, very much just keeping some of what I've got, selling most of what I've got, and just sitting tight until the opportunities come. There are a couple of people that I do talk to regularly in property, and I trust their judgment, and we all from our discussions think that the worst is yet to come and that the opportunities are still another 12 to 18 months away. So
just to ask this blunt question then, are you thinking there's a crash, like a big crash coming? Well, and particularly, is it London? When we're talking a crash, are we talking London specifically, or are we talking about just generally the country? What's your views on the next 12 to 18 months in property wise and the property prices? Yeah, it's really hard when you don't have a crystal ball to give an answer to this question. It's so hard. And I would say that if you look at rental values in London, and I'm really sorry, my view is going to be quite London centric, because that's the area that I do invest in. So rents are down 15%. Now, is 15% a crash? Some might argue that it is. They're down 15% on the year, and but house prices are up 7.4%. So what I think is going to happen is you've got to look really long term at this and see what the long term trends are. Now, all the house builders have been building for Help to Buy, because Help to Buy is up to 600,000, first time buyers, mostly flats. So they've been feeding into this market. And when a house builder is planning out their pipeline, they're planning it out for the next decade or 2 decades. So what they're looking at now is, I think, okay, so Help to Buy is finishing in 2023.
we've built so many flats, we've filled that market. Perhaps they've not been building as many family homes. And now what there seems to be is a real shortage of good quality family homes available for rent. And I know that myself. I'm currently renting, and it was so hard to find something that was suitable to rent in an area that I wanted to rent in, as a fact that was big enough for 4 children plus a dog. It just is really, really challenging. So I do think that this is an area that house builders will be looking at in the future. And that means that if you're thinking ahead and looking at what trends might come about, then this is something to think about. What the home builders are going to be building. Someone's just written a question there about deurbanization. And that's an interesting question, and it depends on what side of the fence you're on with that, because there's a lot of hype in the media about people fleeing the cities and house prices outside of the city going up X%, and people deciding that they don't want to live in cities. The fact remains that the cities are always going to be there, especially somewhere as vibrant and inviting as London.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's right. And so these cities are still going to be there. They still have all the utilities and the resources that people need. There are still not enough homes in our capital for all the people that need them. And that's just a fact. And also, from a carbon footprint standpoint, still the most ecologically friendly place to live is in our cities. But what we don't have in our cities is suitable housing that's fit for purpose. And that's still to this day. A lot of people don't want to live in a home that's owned by a landlord that might have 1 or 2 properties. They want to live in something that's organized and managed, kind of like the condo system in New York City, where I lived. It's a lovely system to live in, because you've got these purpose-built rental flats that have concierges, gyms, all your rubbish is sorted for you. You don't have to worry about it. You've got someone who collects all your post and all your Amazon deliveries. And it's just a really easy way of living that I think will be more. So this deurbanization, I'm not buying it. I think that it's a short-term trend.
The city is always going to be the city. People are going to want to be there.
If you look at Savills and their 5-year forecasts, they also agree with this, and that's what they're saying. So, Chiwoko, I'm not sure if that answers your question, but this is a market. Everyone's got a different view, and that's what makes a market, and that's what's great about it.
No, thanks for sharing that view as well. Just kind of want to take the subject a bit to more the work lifestyle. So I know you've got a great balance in terms of having your family. So you do a lot of things. I know you travel, you're obviously in the property space, and you've got your kids as well, 3 kids, which can be demanding. And you seem to kind of have got a good balance across the 3. And obviously, it being lockdown, and obviously now having to be at home with the kids full time. Yeah. What's that like, and how has that now kind of changed things for you?
Oh my goodness, can you see my red eyes? I'm exhausted. So there's not much balance right now. I think so we've got 4 children at home, 1 of my partners and 3 of mine. So and 1 of those is here part-time. So there are always things to do in the house. And for me, it's not so much the homeschooling that's a problem, it's the catering and cleaning. I mean, if you saw my kitchen right now, I think you'd be appalled. But oh my goodness, it's just keeping up with it. But I realized I had a little bit of a mini crisis about 2 years ago, I think, where I realized that I was just working too hard, and I had a bit of shiny penny syndrome, where every new opportunity that was put in front of me, I felt like I had to pursue. And I got trapped in this busyness trap where I was constantly chasing things to do. And if I look at it and this is getting quite philosophical now, if I'm looking at it, that was ego, because I needed to feed my ego to make myself feel important by constantly being busy and chasing these things to do.
Yeah.
And it was my partner, Paul, actually, who was just, he's very insightful, and he's ridiculous. He's just always right, which is so annoying. But he was the one who just said to me, let's just take stock of what you're doing and whether it really is necessary. And the one thing, you can have money and you can have all these things, but you can't ever have time. And so I guess I'm kind of lucky that I have a bit of money behind me. So now the only thing I want is time. And if anything that I'm doing just takes up too much of my time and takes away time from my family, I'm not going to do it. And it allows me to have boundaries as well, where I don't do things in the evenings. I don't do things on weekends.
Yeah, you told me straight away.
Right. Yeah.
So guys, I asked, usually the Insta Live's on Sunday, 7 p.m. And I asked, the first question I was like, can we do it at 7? And she's like, no, sorry, that's out of my working hours, Monday to Friday. I think you said 9 till 5, I think it was.
Yeah.
I was like, wow,
right.
I love that. So
yeah, but I can, and I don't need to hustle. And I see this on Clubhouse, and I see all these people who say they're earning 7, 8 figures, and yet they're spending 20 hours a day on Clubhouse hustling. I'd like to call out BS, and I think there needs to be a BS button on Clubhouse.
On Clubhouse.
Exactly. And so the second something's BS, you press the button and they have to immediately substantiate the claims that they're making. So they say, yeah, I'm earning 8 figures, and you go BS, and immediately they have to submit the documentation to support their claim. And I think that would make Clubhouse such a better place. I don't know if anyone else agrees with me.
It's a weird one, because I think that just to kind of throw the Clubhouse stuff in, because like Clubhouse has kind of brought everybody that's kind of across the world who seem to be doing all these large, busy, making a lot of money, but yet, like you said, are spending a substantial amount of time. All of a sudden, time has become available. They can be on there all day long.
I know.
Giving advice, sharing their thoughts.
And on weekends.
Yeah. I'm quite
families.
surprised. I'm like, how is this happening? Because like a lot of people that I thought you'd have very little access, because they're negotiating deals, they're in board meetings, they got emails to respond to, they got employees to deal with, whatever it is. But now it's like they're spending a huge amount of time on this app, which I don't know if they're trying to grab. Maybe I think there's a fear of missing out, so people are trying to get the following on that and kind of be at the front of it. So maybe that might be the sacrifice they're willing to kind of take, just in case this does blow up and becomes a new thing. You don't want to now be coming in when everybody's already established themselves in that space.
That's right. It's a land grab. Exactly right, Alfred.
I think that's what's happening. Yeah.
Someone just asked how many hours I'm spending on Clubhouse. Now I'm going to confess something here. This is my second week on Clubhouse. The first week, Paul said to me, how many hours have you spent this week on Clubhouse? And I went, a couple. And he said, can I check your phone and check that? I went, yeah, sure, go on, check. Here's my phone. And he had a look, and he went, and I said, look, 2 hours. And he went, that's today, 24 hours. And I went, oh. So I'd spent 24 hours in my first week on Clubhouse, and I just had it on as kind of like a radio in the background.
Yeah.
But I just thought, that's ridiculous. So now I'm limiting myself. I do a show on Clubhouse with Mike Stenhouse, and that's every Wednesday morning at 8:30, just for 1 hour. And we do a property show then. And then I'm doing something with my coach, actually, Nikki Trott, this evening from 6 till 7. And I'm doing that just as a one-off, really.
What's that one? What's the topic on that one? I don't know.
Conscious. Oh yeah, no, I do. I'd have to have a look on my Instagram, which is here. But it's conscious investing, or making money. Conscious investing, conscious wealth management, conscious. Sorry, Nikki. Anyway, 6 till 7 on Clubhouse tonight.
Yeah. No, good. So, all right, let's bring it back. So we talked about the work-life balance, and obviously that's changed for you during this COVID period as well, and obviously making it a bit harder. But as well, like, I want to kind of bring the traveling element. So you're someone that loves sailing and travels quite a bit, and I don't know how you're able to manage that along with your business in terms of the property element. How does that work?
Yeah, so at the moment, pre-lockdown, sorry, we were spending around 3 months a year sailing and the rest of the time on land, dealing with children at school and businesses and things, and tried not to do too much work while we were on the boat. And now the goal is just to tip that balance until it's more like 3 months on land and 9 months on the ocean. So
Nice.
that's what we're planning towards. Obviously, this whole lockdown's scuppered those plans more recently. But now with communications, and especially now in a post-pandemic world, it's easier to communicate and it's easier to run business meetings. I gave a keynote speech to over 3,000 people in October from the boat, and all you needed was a stable internet connection. And I think I had a more stable connection than I do right now, actually, given the way this is cutting in and out.
That's good.
But yeah, you can do pretty much everything. The only thing you can't do is be on site. And that's why I'm really not interested in developing anymore, because I need to think about what I did at the beginning of last year, or sort of first lockdown, is I looked at my 5-year goal. My 5-year goal is to spend 9-10 months a year sailing or living on the boat and a couple months here. And I thought, okay, so what steps do I need to put into place in order to reach that goal? And the first thing that struck me is I can't be developing properties, because you can't be on site regularly when you're abroad. And so that had to go. So that's why I had to pivot, that lovely term that everyone's using. Pivot my strategy.
They banned it in certain rooms in Clubhouse. You're not allowed to say the word pivot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm going to use
everybody's using it like, come on, guys, let's stop.
Yeah, that's right. Well, pivot, it's going to be the word of 2020. I don't know if they've released that yet, but yeah, the word of 2020. The word of 2019 was authenticity.
Oh, really?
So,
I didn't come across that, I can't lie, but yeah.
So that's the whole goal. That's right. I think someone's asked a good question here that I wouldn't mind sharing, if you don't mind, and that is Harry A352 said, what's the motivation for sharing your property expertise and documenting the processes? In the beginning, it was because I was one of the first women doing it about 10 years ago. There weren't many of us women in property. There was myself, there was Susanna Cole, and yeah, there were some other women doing it more quietly, but not many. And I really wanted to be at the forefront of women in property. And I was interviewed by Richard Bowser at an event, and he just said, look at all the women here in the audience, Nicole, and that wouldn't have been possible if you especially hadn't documented your process and shared your journey. And that is why all these women are here in this audience right now. And that really motivated me and really, it made me feel proud. I actually think we don't say that enough in this country. I felt proud of myself for having done that and helped however it was, made a small impact on women coming into property. Now, unlike most people in property, I don't sell a course. I don't mentor people. I don't have I don't have any of that. I have nothing to say. You can buy my book, but whether or not I make £5 from you, it doesn't put wind in my sails. It doesn't do anything.
Wind in my sails.
So, you know what I mean? I have nothing to gain from this. I've been through a tough time in property, and maybe people will think that I'm a bit negative on it, but I'd like to think I'm realistic. And I just want to tell people as it is, and hopefully protect people from going through the same difficult times as I had, which is probably for another conversation.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point though, because I think a lot of people kind of classify the whole property industry and it makes it sound really great and amazing. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, from what you're getting out of it can be great, but getting there is another like the battles, the hurdles, the inconveniences, all the things you have to kind of go through to kind of build a portfolio, and even after that trying to sustain that portfolio as well. It's challenging, and it's not it's easier said than done. But obviously, the people selling the courses and stuff, Glossify it to kind of just make people come into it and obviously buy from them and share the information. But yeah, there's definitely a lot more to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just as well, just this kind of brings it nicely onto like the whole personal brands, and obviously you built a personal brand for yourself. And what was the reason again for you wanting to kind of build, or I guess, put yourself out there, create exposure into what you do? Talk us through that.
Yeah, sure. I think it was definitely because of my book. It was in the Christmas of 2016, 17, or maybe it was 15, I don't know, 2015, somewhere around there. And I'd written my book and I thought, I really want someone other than my mum to buy this book. So I'm going to start on social media. And at the time I had around 580. It was really funny. I had about 580 followers on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I thought what I would do is I can go and speak at an event and I can reach maybe 20 to a couple hundred people, or I can post on social media and potentially reach thousands of people at a time. So I thought what I would do is I'd start with one platform at a time and I'd really work that platform and build up a following on that. So I started with Twitter actually and built that up. And I think I did get to around 13,000 or so followers there. I've pretty much stopped Twitter for now. But yeah, I've got around 12,500 followers there. And that really was my favorite platform at the time. I loved it. Now I can't bear it, but it's just, oh my goodness, it's difficult on there. Then I started on Facebook and I maxed out my personal profile and then worked on a business profile. And then I got a bit sick of Facebook as well. And then I discovered Instagram, and I was a bit late to the whole Instagram thing, but I really loved it. And being in something that's so visual and creating these homes that were so beautiful, I found that my work really resonated with people on Instagram. So I really worked that and grew that, and it went really well. And then the same on LinkedIn. I just put a few posts up that went quite well, had hundreds of thousands of views and lots of comments and things, and that really grew my following there. And it's just, people say that your following doesn't matter, but do you know what, it actually does, because
no, it does. It's a form of currency in my mind.
My kids, my 12-year-old or even my 9-year-old, I've got 12, 11, 10, 9.
Yeah.
No, I've now got nearly 13, 12, 11, 9. Anyway, whatever, they're young. And they'll just, everything is, this person has X number of followers on TikTok. This person has X number on this. Yeah. And it is about numbers. It's really sad, but it matters. And opportunities come to you when you've got a big following, because they want you to to open doors for them or things like this. And it's helped with my podcast. It's helped me launch that. It's now top 5 globally. Nice. As the blonde brickie is saying, socials are the key ingredients to success. And that's absolutely right. Literally. It just, it helps me talk to someone like you, Alfred, and have this great discussion and see all these other people that are joining in. And I love my online community.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm proud of it because, like I said, the following is massive and it's good and it's going in the right direction as well. I just kind of want to relate that back to, like, did that ever help with regards to your property journey and maybe being able to attract investors, people to work with, potentially partner up with? Has that kind of social media presence, personal branding helped with that as well?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So with fundraising, we raised 6.4 million on crowdfunding, and that was a few years ago. It can be a double-edged sword, though, because when things go wrong, people feel the need to shout out and call you out. That's the
biggest problem. If you're going all in, you have to take the bad side and the good side of it. So that's
exactly.
That's what comes with it.
Yeah, but again, with sourcing deals, I don't work with sources at all. I've always worked with estate agents. I've got the utmost respect for estate agents and excuse me, what they do, and I've always dealt directly with them. But often they would just bring me deals that they knew would be the types of deals or the types of projects that I would take on, because I'm in the area and I would act on those and complete on them. Sometimes they wouldn't even take things to market. They'd just bring them straight to me, and I was able to get a great deal. So yeah, having that social media presence and being really authentic. And I talk about my tough times. I talk about my good times. Good. And it's just, you have to be real. People see right through. unreal.
No, no, it's good. It's good to do that. I think, like me personally, I share both my good and bads of my journey. Whatever I do, like people see me have hurdles, and I'll put it out there, and then they'll see me overcome it. And I get as well. It kind of builds a credibility as well.
Yeah.
Someone that's able to kind of have problems and still overcome that, and it's like an investable quality. So obviously, me, I'm seeking investment and stuff.
Yeah.
I like to put that stuff out there and just show that I can overcome problems, and I think it's a good selling point. So why not? So you've got a question here as well from Harry A352 again. If you're a local estate agent, how important do you think a social media presence is?
Incredibly important, Harry. I've got so many ideas around how estate agents could be completely changing what they're doing. Excuse me, I've been on calls all day. And yeah, I have so many ideas. If you want me to, I can do a whole, I think I could do a whole podcast on how I think that estate agents could be harnessing social media. There are just so many things. Actually, I have a sponsor lined up who wants me to do a whole series of videos around house tours and things like that. And I wanted to work with some local estate agents to get some really good properties to put on this YouTube channel and Instagram IGTV channel. But of course, lockdown happened. But I've got a sponsor. I've got an even bigger sponsor who might come on board. And yeah, I wanted to work with a whole lot of estate agents across the country to bring this to market, but it just can't happen yet. So yeah, Harry, there are lots of things, but really do build. Have a look at, what is his name? Tyron.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's still Sunday, still on, but I'm planning to have him on Sunday. We agreed Sunday, 7 p.m. Instagram Live.
Yeah. Have a listen to, catch that one, catch Alfred's live on Sunday, because he is the one. And Daniel Daggers, I met him as well through Clubhouse. Exactly. Yeah, so
he's a cool
talk to
guy
Daniel.
as well. Yeah.
Tyron Ash, that's it, sorry.
Yeah, Tyron Ash, real estate,
Guy Hepwell, I think that's his name, from Hamptons. He's doing a really good job. The Property Twins, I'm having them on my podcast soon. They are based out in Essex. They're two gorgeous girls that are doing great things in property. There's another girl, Ugo. I keep going to my phone because anyway, there are so many people. You should be. Yeah, I'm on it. I can't go off it. Who are doing great things on their socials as estate agents, and just look at what Ryan Serhant's doing and just do it in a much more British way, I think, because he's very American, obviously, and I think that's
I love the American. I don't know. I personally love the American attitude. I like the way they're out there, like out there spoken, share their views, don't really care. Take or leave. It's kind of, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, exactly. Arjun, I'd love to hug you, but I'm socially distancing at the moment, so we'll have to wait till later.
Oh man, I've just been thrown off there. There's one more question in the box. There's two. So one from Fash. How would you work? Let me bring this up so we can see.
Oh yeah.
How would your work ethic if you didn't have your kids and family core consideration? That's a good question.
It is a very good question, Fash, and I know exactly how that would be. And I kind of, to a certain extent, had that a few years ago. And what I would do is I would work incredibly hard for a period of about 3 weeks. And I would work, I'd put in sort of all hours. I'd get up, do my yoga and my workout, and I'd eat really well and exercise really well. I had a 6-pack then. But anyway, I was able to put a lot of time into me is the point that I'm making. But what I would do is just work really intensively for 3 weeks and then pretty much take a 4-day weekend off, and I'd go on fitness retreats. I'd go to, my friend used to run an Ibiza body blitz where we'd go out there, and I was going every month for ages. We'd go out there and we'd just eat really clean food. We'd exercise 6 times a day. And for me, that was my release. It was sort of this work really hard for 3 weeks and then just go and do something that was purely for me. Go and hike Nepal or something like that and completely switch off. Go on a yoga retreat in the mountains of Austria. And that's what I would do. I would Because when you're really passionate about something, and this is hard to explain to people, but when you're really passionate about things, it doesn't feel like a job. And they might think, oh, look, you're on social media again. But social media is part of my job, but it's also something I'm passionate about. So to me, it's very hard for me to put those boundaries around social media. So that's why it's really good to have someone like Paul who does he calls me out on it and makes me put in these boundaries, because it's setting a good example to my children as well. So yeah, I hope that's answered your question, Fash, but it is a very good question. And it's one that I'm happy to go into more detail on. If you want me to, just drop me a message.
We've got another question as well. As an ST1 London. What about companies allowing staff to work from home? Most prefer to buy off London as they get more. Let me see what's finishing bit. As they get more
out of London,
for their money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that I was talking to my broker, Esther Bennett, a couple of weeks ago, and she's based in Norfolk, and she's saying that they're seeing house prices really skyrocket in Norfolk because people are moving out. And I think what happens with any of these things is there's the initial reaction, and you can find numerous stories of this. People move out of London and then they go, oh my goodness, what do we do? About a year later, when they're stuck in the suburbs away from all their friends and they're bored and lonely, because
literally, that's what I'm
bored and lonely, and I'm stuck in the suburbs now, and I just wish I could live in London, but I can't anymore because of schooling and children. So I'm look, but I do love where I am now. I shouldn't complain, but it's not London. And I think what will happen is that, yes, people will realize that they can get more for their money. Yeah, that's great. But it comes down to life's more than that. And I think we can be really strategic about the space that we have and utilize the space that we have and live in a smaller space than we do and just live a better life. It's a tough one. But I do think that while there is this little backlash, which is perpetuated by the media, I still think that longer term there will be demand for London and London properties.
I think so too. We've got another one just popped in now. As a property investor, do you think it's better to rent or buy your? This is like a whole debate in itself, and I think it's based on circumstances.
Yeah, we could do a whole clubhouse. Yeah, we could do a whole club.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll fill that very quickly because it's an interesting debate. But I feel like you always have to put it into context because it's very hard if there's no rules around. You have to frame the question, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they mean, because they could mean, is that a rent-to-rent strategy, or is that your own home and invest?
I'm assuming in terms of your own home, would you rather rent it or would you buy it?
Yeah, perhaps they asked the question because I said I'm renting. So the reason I'm renting at the moment is because there are no properties to buy in my area. I just moved about a year and a bit ago. I moved here to Kent for schools. And I've not found anything. I've not found anything to buy. And so therefore I'm coming to, I've found a former care home actually that is big enough for me and my family that I can rent until I can find something to buy. Would I like to buy? Yeah, I would. But should you rent or buy? That is such a personal decision. Yeah. Yes, if you rent, it gives you more capital to invest in other property. But on the flip side, there is nothing that's as tax effective as owning your own home. The interest rates are low. You don't pay capital gains tax on it. So there are a lot of advantages to that as well. So yeah, that's, I guess, the comments that I can give on that.
And then just want to quickly, I know you said 45 minutes, so I don't know, what's time looking like for you?
Yeah, I need to go and rest my voice ahead of my next meeting and grab some lunch soon. But yeah, I've got a couple of minutes.
One more question. This is more like business. I know you've got involved in like seed capital for businesses and stuff, and you've invested in businesses as well. What's made you kind of go into that space outside of property?
Yeah, it was opportunity, really. These opportunities were presented to me and they looked really good. And also, I think that as property people, we forget that there are other asset classes, and rather than diversifying within property and having multiple income streams within property, I tend to look at property as a whole asset class, and I like to diversify outside of property. So whether that be having some stocks, having some cryptocurrency, which I don't have. I'm just saying that.
I was about to ask, do you have any? I don't at the moment.
No, let's not even get into that. That's for tonight. That's for tonight on Clubhouse.
Cool.
And just, there are other asset classes, and you just need to be aware of that. And we need to make sure that we're not just throwing everything into property, which property, again, is a very tax inefficient investment class. It's illiquid, it doesn't allow for much movement, and also it's very cyclical, but I know everything is, but it doesn't allow you to trade in and out in a way that other assets do.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to be very careful that you are putting aside money in ISAs, putting aside money in, and I was the youngest ever qualified financial advisor in Australia. So I know a little bit about this, but I can't give any financial advice because I was in Australia, not here. But I have enough knowledge and understanding that I just think people need to be aware of this and not put all their eggs in one asset class.
No, it's good. And just to kind of add a little bit to that. So at what point do you reckon people should be potentially looking at avenues? They're not looking for the start, they hit diversify and they want to kind of put their eggs in several baskets. But for me, I feel like it can dilute your efforts. And I personally feel like it should just be one thing which you kind of ride with. Once that grows, you put some more from that, and then at that point, disposable income that comes through, potentially you want to put into something else. Fair enough. Yeah. Just what's your view on that quickly, then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and it's about having things that are managed for you, having a really good I say wealth manager that you just invest a certain amount every month with, and they just run that for you and you don't think about it, and that's just your safety net that you hopefully never have to dip into until you retire. But I think it's just about having a really good conversation with someone. I think people think that wealth managers will only talk to them if they're wealthy, but if you get a good one, they'll talk to you and they'll help you build wealth so that one day you will be wealthy, or you will build on your wealth. Sorry, I'm being very assumptive, but yeah, just speak to a really good wealth manager and they'll help you out in that regard. But I do think it's important to have something tucked away other than property. Have a fund that is your play with property fund,
yeah,
but have something else that's tucked away too in case everything goes pop, because often it does.
No, and obviously, yeah, nobody can tell the future. I think, yeah.
No, so exactly.
Have some protection. But yeah, Nicole, I'm going to wrap this up. I really appreciate you coming on here and spending time with us as well, and just sharing your experience and some of your knowledge as well. So I appreciate, you doing that. And your last words, anything you want to share with the audience?
No, just yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to see some new people here on Instagram that I don't follow and haven't seen before. So it's really nice to see that. And I love building a community on here. I may take a bit of time getting back to people, but I do answer every single one of my messages. So if there's anything that you want further information about, I'm happy to do a Q&A on my Instagram as well and bring Alfred in. I'm happy to do something on Clubhouse, just, time permitting. I like being social.
No, good. No, thanks so much, Nicole. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys, thanks for being on here as well.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Stay safe.